Comfort doesn't destroy ambition overnight. If it did, people would notice. They would panic. They would resist. But comfort is patient. It doesn't attack. It seduces. It tells you, you've done enough. You deserve rest. You can push later. And slowly, very slowly, ambition stops knocking. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they get comfortable too early. Comfort feels like peace, but psychologically, it's stagnation disguised as safety. The human brain loves comfort because comfort means predictability, and predictability means low energy use. Your brain is an energy-saving machine. Growth costs energy. Change costs energy. Ambition costs uncertainty. So the brain quietly negotiates with you. Stay here. This is good enough. Don't risk what you already have. And because comfort doesn't hurt, you don't question it. That's why it's dangerous. Let me tell you a story. There's a man named Rohan. In his early 20s, Rohan was restless. He had ideas. He stayed up late, thinking about a bigger life. He felt uncomfortable where he was, and that discomfort fueled him. He worked harder than everyone around him, not because he was special, but because he was dissatisfied. Then slowly, things started working out. He got a stable job, a decent income, routine, nothing extraordinary, but enough. And that's where comfort entered quietly. Rohan told himself, I'll push again later. But later never came, because comfort changed his brain. Psychologically, once a certain level of safety is reached, the brain shifts from seeking growth to protecting stability. Ambition thrives in discomfort. It dies in convenience. Rohan still talked about dreams, but he stopped acting on them, because acting now meant risking comfort. Comfort rewires priorities. Instead of asking, how far can I go? You start asking, what if I lose what I have? That question alone is enough to paralyze ambition. Here's how comfort really kills ambition. Not loudly, but quietly. First, it dulls urgency. When survival is no longer a problem, your brain stops pushing you forward. Urgency is uncomfortable. Comfort removes it. Without urgency, action slows. Then comfort builds routines. Routines are efficient. They reduce decision-making, but they also reduce imagination. You stop asking what's possible. You start repeating what's familiar. Then comfort rewards consistency, not courage. You're praised for being stable, responsible, reliable. No one applauds risk-taking once you've settled. Social approval locks you in. This is why people don't change. Changing means disrupting comfort. And disrupting comfort feels like danger, even when it isn't. Your brain doesn't measure long-term regret. It measures short-term discomfort. So it chooses comfort every time. Another dark truth people avoid. Comfort makes ambition feel unnecessary. When basic needs are met, the drive to push disappears unless discomfort is consciously created. That's why hunger produces fighters. Comfort produces spectators. Rohan's life looks fine from the outside, but inside, there's a quiet emptiness, not sadness, not pain, just a dull sense of this is it. Comfort numbs dissatisfaction, and dissatisfaction is fuel. Without it, ambition starves. Another way comfort kills ambition is by shrinking risk tolerance. When you have nothing, risk feels acceptable. When you have something, risk feels irresponsible. Comfort teaches you to protect, not to expand. So people delay. They wait for perfect timing, perfect clarity, perfect certainty. But comfort never produces courage. Courage comes from choosing discomfort. That's why people stay in jobs they've outgrown, relationships that don't excite them, lives that feel smaller than their potential. Not because they're incapable, but because comfort trained their brain to avoid friction. Rohan once tried to push again. He thought about leaving, starting something risky. But now he had bills, expectations, a reputation. Comfort had raised the cost of ambition. This is another disadvantage of comfort. The longer you stay comfortable, the more expensive change becomes. Time passes, responsibilities stack, energy declines. What once required courage now requires sacrifice. And sacrifice feels heavier than discomfort ever did. Comfort also distorts identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who grows. You start seeing yourself as someone who maintains. I'm not that kind of person anymore. That sentence kills more ambition than failure ever could. Comfort also dulls curiosity. You stop exploring. Stop learning aggressively. Stop questioning. Nothing hurts enough to demand answers. This is why comfort feels peaceful, but creates regret later. The pain is delayed. That's the trap. Comfort trades future pain for present ease, and the brain always accepts that deal. Another reason people don't change is because comfort is socially reinforced. People around you normalize stagnation. Be grateful. At least you're stable. Don't overthink. Ambition starts to sound selfish, but ambition isn't about greed. It's about alignment. Comfort convinces you that settling is maturity, but maturity without growth is just slow decay. Rohan realizes this too late. Not when he fails, but But when he notices he hasn't tried in years, comfort didn't take his dreams away. It made him forget why they mattered. That's how comfort kills ambition. Not by crushing it, but by starving it. Here's the darkest truth. Your brain will always vote for comfort. Always. Unless you consciously override it. Ambition requires intentional discomfort. It requires choosing friction before life forces it on you. Because life will bring discomfort anyway, just without growth attached. Comfort is not evil, but living inside it too long is. You don't need chaos. You need challenge. You don't need pain. You need stretch. Create discomfort on purpose. Do hard things before life does them for you. Because ambition doesn't die from failure. It dies from comfort. And the life you protect too carefully is often the life that never grows.